There's a very specific kind of quiet on the internet, the hush that follows a deafening roar when you refresh a page that used to explode with new content 3 times a week and nothing. No bright thumbnails, no wheezy laugh track, no headlines about Tesla giveaways or last-second trips to Hawaii. If you logged onto YouTube in April 2019, David Dobrik's smile was unavoidable. He was in your recommended tab, his friends were trending, his 4-minute 20-second vlogs were racking up 20 million views in 48 hours and launching half a dozen reaction compilations before breakfast. 2 short years later, his channel looked like a museum exhibit. Frozen thumbnails, comment sections locked, ad revenue stripped away by YouTube itself. Subscribers, 19.3 million of them, kept asking the same question in Reddits and Discords. How does the happiest vlogger on the platform vanish in the prime of his career? The first rumors sounded like fan fiction. He's secretly building a talk show set for Netflix. He and Liza Koshy are planning a surprise reunion vlog, but then the stories grew darker. A former squad member, Seth Francois, said a 2017 prank wasn't funny at all. It was sexual assault masquerading as views. A young woman told Insider that a cast member assaulted her during a drunken fivesome filmed for one of David's so-called consent jokes. And in grainy phone footage no one was supposed to see, Jeff Wittek dangled from an industrial excavator, slammed into its arm, and plunged into shallow water. His skull shattered in 9 places because David wanted a bigger comeback shot. Within 60 days of those revelations, DoorDash, HelloFresh, EA, Dollar Shave Club, HBO Max, SeatGeek, sponsors that once paid 6 figures for 30 seconds of Dobrik enthusiasm, fled. Dispo, David's beloved disposable camera startup, lost its entire $20 million Series A after investors saw the headline, YouTube's Mr. Nice Guy hosted a party where a woman says she was RD. And then YouTube itself demonetized every channel tied to Dobrik's name. 1 minute, the 24-year-old Slovak immigrant was the algorithm's golden child. The next, he was a liability with no obvious cash flow. He posted a tearful apology, turned off the comments, and disappeared. Tonight, we're pulling that timeline apart, hour by hour, stunt by stunt, dollar by dollar, to understand why the meteoric ascent of David Julian Dobrik may be the most instructive cautionary tale in influencer history. Because if the internet can persuade a generation that humiliating your friends for content is just a bit, it can also pull the plug the instant the laughter curdles into something criminal. But before we tackle the implosion, we need to rewind to the gamble that started it all. A one-way plane ticket, $1,600, and an app that only let you be funny for 6 seconds at a time. Pay attention to how fast the rewards escalated, then ask yourself whether anyone, let alone a teenager, could have pumped the brakes. Because once the algorithm decides you're worth billions of minutes, it never whispers, slow down. It screams, more. And more is exactly what Dobrik delivered, until more almost killed someone. July 2013. Chicago's O'Hare Airport smells like caramel corn and wet concrete after a thunderstorm. 18-year-old David Dobrik hands TSA his Slovak passport and a one-way boarding pass to Los Angeles. In his East Bay duffel, he's stuffed 3 graphic tees, a busted Canon point and shoot, and $1,600. His entire life savings from bussing tables at a suburban restaurant. His parents wanted community college, maybe a union job. He wanted something. What something looked like, he had no clue, but he did know Vine, Twitter's 6-second video experiment that had turned ordinary teens into viral deities overnight. For the first 6 months in LA, David didn't even film himself. He ran anonymous sports highlight pages, clipping NBA buzzer beaters, reposting them with clickbait captions, then charging desperate high schoolers $20 for a Revine. It paid rent on a shabby North Hollywood apartment he shared with 3 other Midwestern hopefuls. But the hustle taught him an algorithmic truth he'd use forever. If you pack maximum dopamine into minimum runtime, people will binge you like Skittles. One night, he turns the camera around, records himself pretending a nurse just cut the baby's umbilical cord when she's actually snipping, you know, and then edits it down to a perfect 6-second punchline. The loop replayed so seamlessly, viewers didn't realize they'd watched 30 times. His follower graph spiked. He repeats the formula. Quick bait-and-switch sketches. A jump scare here, a dumb pun there. Within 12 months, he's broken 1 million followers, small compared to King Bach or Lele Pons, but enough to gain entry to LA's Vine Mansion parties, where collabs are made in red Solo cups. This is where luck meets leverage. David's charisma behind the lens is infectious. His laugh cues you to laugh. Fellow Viners, Zain Hijazi, Heath Hussar, The Gabby Show, start booking recurring roles in Dobrik 6-second films. Then Liza Koshy enters the frame, a comedic tornado who can throw her legs over her head mid-punchline. Their chemistry is digital nitroglycerin. She jumps from his Vine to his sofa, improvising 5 bits an hour. Each collab pulls new fans into David's orbit, and each new fan begs YouTube for longer videos. Meanwhile, Vine's executives keep promising monetization tools but never deliver. Creators are burning thousands on sketch production without a cent back from the platform. In late 2015, a quiet exodus begins. Half of Vine's top accounts make stealth YouTube channels, hoping their followers tag along. Most fail. The biggest reason? They script 20-minute sketches that feel slow and staged next to Vine's sugar rush. David studies Liza's side channel instead. She's uploading 4-minute vlogs shot in her bedroom. No script, no lighting, just raw personality. The views are astronomical. Maybe, David thinks, the secret isn't to scale up production. It's to stretch out authenticity. January 2015, he uploads, "Putting a Puppy in a Microwave." W/Liza Koshy. The title is pure YouTube click poison. The actual video is him placing a stuffed toy in a microwave, cutting to Liza's mock horrified face, then slam cutting to them cuddling a real puppy. It's dumb, harmless, and somehow delightful. 80,000 views in a day. Nothing compared to Vine metrics, but enough. No video may exceed 4 minutes and 20 seconds. The number is both a weed joke and a psychological promise. This will end before your attention does. Pace. Film 2 hours. Keep 20 sellable clips. Slice them until even an eye blink feels like a scene change. Position. He stays behind the lens laughing. Friends absorb the chaos. His brand becomes an amplifier, not the instrument. Summer 2016, Twitter announces Vine's funeral. Panic ripples across the creator pool, but David is weirdly calm. He's pulling 250,000 subscribers a month on YouTube, enough AdSense to finally upgrade from ramen to Postmates. More important, the bits that work in 6 seconds explode once given 20. He's found a formula that distills Vine's crackle without feeling like a rerun. By December 2016, he has 2 million subs and a line of merch that sells out inside 4 hours. Vine officially shutters in January 2017. Dozens of once famous Viners drift into obscurity. David, the kid who arrived with $1,600, is suddenly carrying the torch for every internet comedian who refuses to fade. The torch, however, burns hotter than anyone predicts, and he's about to learn that heat melts boundaries faster than it prints money. Because the jump cuts were about to get sharper, the stunts riskier, and the margins for error razor thin. And the only person who never paid that price was the one holding the camera. The first thing that strikes newcomers to a classic Dobrik vlog is how little breathing room it leaves. There's no, "Hey guys, welcome back, smash that like button." The screen fades up mid-sentence. Corinna shrieking, "Stop filming my boobs." Smash cut to Jason Nash bursting through a Costco display. Smash cut to David's laugh, high-pitched, contagious. Then a whip pan to a slow-motion champagne spray as EDM hits the chorus. Title card. Runtime counter, 420. You're hooked before you know what the video's about, and David knows you'll stay because you've been trained. Miss a millisecond, and you might miss the next viral meme. That edit style didn't happen by accident. Dobrik treated vlogging like statistical sport. The more dopamine spikes per minute, the higher the audience retention, the louder the algorithm applause. He once told the Wall Street Journal he'd cut a joke if it took longer than 3 seconds to set up. Every day he'd shoot 2 or 3 hours of raw footage, target runs, Uber rides, prank setups, then spend sunset to sunrise slicing out 95% of it, leaving only highlight reel absurdity. By the time he hit upload, each second felt like a punchline landing on the previous punchline's shoulders. The formula created a new breed of supporting character, half roommate, half stunt double, half Greek chorus. Scott Sire's existential dread became background laughter. Elton Casti dangled from cranes. Jonah the Armenian Jonah Hill hijacked drive-through speakers to propose to strangers. The more they embarrassed themselves, the more screen time they got, the faster their own socials exploded. David often rewarded big viral moments with bigger gifts. A used Mustang here, a surprise rent payment there. Every gesture filmed, every tear zoomed in, every hug freeze-framed. It was part altruism, part psychological incentive program, keep pushing the envelope, and the envelope might contain keys to a Tesla. Keyword, might. Because while gifts rained from Dobrik's brand deals, there was no formal payroll. Appear in the vlog, gain followers, monetize them yourself. That was the barter. For some it worked, for others it meant suspending dignity in hopes the next bit went viral. The vlogs blurred friendship and workplace into one high-stress improv theater. There were no HR policies, no safety coordinators, seldom even a location permit. If David thought of a gag, the camera rolled immediately, because manufacturing chaos and capturing the authentic first reaction was the entire selling point. YouTube rewarded the hustle. Between 2017 and 2019, his channel leapt from 2 million to 15 million subscribers. AdSense alone topped $275,000 a month during peak CPM seasons. Merch drops, hoodies with clickbait in collegiate font, crashed Shopify servers. Views, the podcast he co-hosted with Jason Nash, hit #1 on iTunes its first weekend, pulling sponsorship rates that rivaled mid-tier FM radio. In April 2019, he bought a $9.5 million 7-bedroom modern farmhouse in the hills above Studio City and filled the backyard with inflatable water parks just to destroy them on camera. Brands lined up to harness the optimism. Chipotle paid him to rename a burrito. SeatGeek financed full car giveaways. Television took notice. Nickelodeon tapped him to slimed host the Kids' Choice Awards. Angry Birds 2 cast him in a cameo. Jimmy Fallon flew him to New York for a Tonight Show bit about viral generosity. Mainstream Hollywood had crowned its first fully homegrown YouTube star. But success multiplied the appetite for spectacle. After you've gifted a Tesla, the only way to top it is by gifting a Ferrari. And after you've thrown your best friend from an airplane at 15,000 feet, yes, that was a real bit, you start brainstorming machinery with even higher torque. Dobrik Productions rented flamethrowers, crane lifts, yacht charters. Insurance? Sometimes. Waivers? Usually a shrug. The bigger concern was always runtime. If the stunt didn't condense into 15 incredible seconds, it would never survive the final edit. And so setups became riskier, punchlines sharper, consequences overlooked, until one day those consequences materialized as a fractured skull and felony accusations, and the golden boy learned an algorithm that builds you can just as quickly bury you. But the first cracks appeared long before lawsuits, inside private group chats where squad members wondered whether the laughs actually belonged to the audience or were secretly being weaponized against them. If you ever wandered into the old Vlog Squad apartment after midnight, you'd notice something odd beneath the laughter. A hierarchy as rigid as a Hollywood call sheet. At the top, smiling, filming, rarely suffering, stood David. Beneath him, an ever-rotating cast of hopefuls willing to turn humiliation into content. On camera, they were friends. Off camera, more like unpaid stuntmen jockeying for precious seconds of screen time that might juice a stagnant Instagram or land a coveted sponsorship. In a system where exposure was currency, you did whatever bit David pitched, no matter how reckless, because not playing along meant disappearing from the narrative, and disappearing meant irrelevance. Big Nick was the first to reveal how those laughs felt from the cheap seats. Born with dwarfism, Nick entered the vlogs as comic relief, a walking punchline for height jokes. At first he embraced it. Self-deprecation had been part of his Vine persona too. But repetition is a psychological sledgehammer. After the 50th time viewers shouted, "Stand up, Nick," at a meet and greet, the humor curdled. He told H3 in 2021 that being Dobrik's perpetual short joke triggered depression so severe he contemplated ending his life. When he quietly asked David to tone it down, the solution wasn't sensitivity, it was erasure. Nick's appearances dwindled to 0, proving a brutal point. The vlog doesn't change for you. You change, or you're gone. Seth Francois learned that lesson more violently. In 2017, David asked Seth to film a dream sequence where he'd French kiss influencer Corinna Kopf. The catch: Corinna would wear an old man latex mask. Seth agreed. On shoot day, Corinna bowed out, and Jason Nash, David's 45-year-old sidekick, slipped into the mask. Seth, expecting Corinna, went all in, tongue and all. Only after the mask came off did he realize he'd been tricked. The clip generated millions of views. Fans memed it relentlessly. David cackled on the Views podcast, boasting that it was perfect because Seth was from Compton, where dudes kissing dudes isn't so accepted. For years, Seth forced a smile, playing along. Only when he stepped away from the squad did he process the violation. He hadn't consented to kissing Jason. When he asked David to delete the vlog, David offered cash instead. Anything to keep the footage live. Why didn't Seth walk sooner? Because the squad machine preyed on creative hunger. You move to LA. You gamble your savings. You score a cameo in a Dobrik vlog. Overnight, your DMs flood. Your follower count spikes. Brand managers lurk with teeth out. Now picture that dopamine disappearing the moment you question David's vision. Better to swallow discomfort than risk oblivion, especially when Dobrik's laugh can alchemize your pain into $250,000 in AdSense. Psychologists call this intermittent reinforcement. Slot machines thrive on it. So did the vlog squad. One week, you're the hero who gets a free iPad. Next week, you're the clown who eats ghost pepper salsa until he pukes. The unpredictability keeps you desperate for the next positive stroke. Jason Nash personified the trade-off. A stand-up pushing 40, he'd chased Hollywood for 2 decades without a break. David's vlogs gave him relevance, and a mortgage paid. So Jason accepted any gag. Dressing as an elf to serve coffee, fake marrying Trisha Paytas, even wearing nothing but duct tape while passers-by gawked. Each indignity equaled airtime. Airtime equaled subscribers. Subscribers equaled, finally, a living. He wasn't alone. Todd Smith drank to dampen anxiety before bits. Jeff Wittek risked his barber hands on demolition derby dares. No one wanted to be the killjoy who halted production. Yet boundaries, once elastic, tend to snap without warning. Fall 2018, David pitched a haunted bit. Sneak into Seth's house at 3 a.m., dressed as a mass murderer. Armed with prop knives, the crew burst into Seth's bedroom. He woke in terror, fists swinging. They laughed it off on video, but Seth later admitted he slept with a weapon for weeks. Another time, David flew Jonah to Miami under the premise of jet skiing, then pranked him with a fake deportation scare at the airport. Fans called it hilarious, insiders called it psychological warfare. Still, the clicks rolled in, and YouTube's algorithm behaves like a casino pit boss. As long as the tables stay hot, it hands out comped sweets, not moral checks. By late 2019, Dobrik averaged 150 million monthly views, placing him among the site's 10 most watched creators. At that scale, each new upload generated roughly $200,000 in ad revenue. Before merchandise, before sponsorships like SeatGeek wiring him $60,000 a video to surprise strangers with cars. When money pours faster than reflection, self-policing feels like sabotage. But the human brain keeps score even when comment sections cheer. Big Nick's depression, Seth's humiliation, Jonah's panic, each carved its dent into the facade. Privately, squad members whispered that David's edit bay was a confessional. If he thought a clip might hurt feelings but help retention, retention always won. Publicly, the mask stayed joyful. Viewers believed they were witnessing a modern-day Friends, a perpetual slumber party, where loyalty trumped ego. In reality, the party had bouncers, and the price of admission was pain. 2 events slammed that door off its hinges. One involved alleged alcohol, a locked bedroom, and a teenage fan. The other involved heavy machinery and 60-mile-per-hour physics. Both were filmed. Both were edited by a smiling David Dobrik. And both would force the world to ask, at what point does a prankster become a perpetrator? The answer arrived in 2021 when 3 scandal bombs detonated in 30 days, and the algorithm that once crowned David the nicest guy on the internet suddenly labeled him high-risk content. Sponsors fled in hours. YouTube pulled the plug. The collapse wasn't subtle, it was seismic. February 2021. While most of the world doom scrolls pandemic news, Seth Francois sits under studio lights on the H3 podcast, voice trembling. I was sexually assaulted, he tells host Ethan Klein, recounting the infamous old man mask prank. The internet stalls mid-scroll. Dobrik's fan base, once rabidly loyal, now sifts through memories. Did we laugh at an assault? Screenshots of David bragging about exploiting Seth's background resurface. Comment sections hum with words like racist and non-consensual. Dobrik acts quickly, but imperfectly. He uploads a 3-minute apology on a side channel few fans even know exists. He disables comments, likes, and dislikes. He says the word consent 6 times. He never says sexual assault. Critics call it a PR band-aid. Supporters whisper that he addressed it and deserves forgiveness. Brands monitor sentiment scores in Slack channels. Waiting. March 16th. Business Insider drops a 5,000-word investigation headlined, "A woman says she was RP'd by a Vlog Squad member in 2018. The video was posted to David Dobrik's channel. The member is Dominikas Dom Zeglaitis, whose on-screen persona is perpetually horny Eastern European. Insider publishes screenshots. Dom DMing college sophomores, promising a five-sum for David's vlog. They include texts from the woman, Hannah, describing how alcohol was provided to minors, how she blacked out, how she woke to find Dom assaulting her. Most damning, the video still existed for months afterward, garnering 5 million views and ad revenue while Hannah processed her trauma. Twitter erupts. The number Dobrik is over party trends worldwide. Unlike many cancel hashtags, this one catches corporate attention. DoorDash suspends its Dobrik partnership by 6 p.m. ET. Dollar Shave Club halts ads within 24 hours. SeatGeek, the longtime sponsor whose logo adorned every car giveaway thumbnail, tweets that it's re-evaluating. TubeFilter charts $2 million in annual sponsorships evaporating in 48 hours. Dispo, the $200 million photo-sharing startup David co-founded, sees venture firm Spark Capital publicly announce it's severing all ties. Within hours, celebrities like Katie Couric, who had invested, quietly follow suit. March 18th. YouTube demonetizes all Dobrik-owned channels under its creator responsibility policy, the same nuclear switch it once flipped on Logan Paul after the Suicide Forest fiasco. The income fire hose turns to dust. Analysts estimate Dobrik loses $200,000 to $300,000 a month in AdSense alone. Commentators recall how, weeks earlier, David bragged he hadn't made a YouTube vlog in a year, yet still ranked on Forbes' top earners list. Now the platform itself has locked the vault. March 22nd, 11:47 p.m. Pacific. A new video appears on Dobrik's main channel, first upload in over a year, titled simply, March 22nd, 2021. No SFX, no jump cuts. David sits alone against white brick, mouth dry. 8 minutes, unmonetized. He apologizes directly to Hannah, to Seth, to Dom's other alleged victims. He admits he prioritized a busy schedule over safety, trusted Dom too blindly, didn't remove the 2018 video fast enough. He promises to hire HR, lawyers, and a barrier of accountability before filming again. The reception splits like fault lines. Fans cry, "He's learning." Critics analyze frame by frame. The lighting is soft. The apology uploaded at midnight to minimize traction. Tears look rehearsed, accountability outsourced to consultants. Former squadmate Trisha Paytas calls it PR vomit. Ethan Klein labels it the Logan Paul template. Sponsors remain silent. The deals are already gone. But the worst revelation hasn't dropped yet. While the public obsesses over sexual misconduct allegations, Jeff Wittek edits a documentary that will show marginalized pieces of footage the world has never seen. An excavator whipping him in circles like a carnival ride, David at the controls, then a sudden stop, then Jeff's face smashing metal. That video will shift Dobrik's narrative from reckless friend to dangerous director, and it's coming sooner than anyone expects. The lawsuits will say negligence. Jeff's orbit will call it betrayal. But the images, blood-covered life vest, crushed orbital socket, will state a simpler truth. Sometimes the price of content is life-altering injury, and algorithm bonuses don't pay hospital bills. Picture a glassy Utah lake at golden hour. An excavator squats in knee-deep water, bucket arm raised like a mechanized T-Rex. On the shore, David Dobrik claps a slate, grinning. "This is bigger than the helicopter bit. Ready?" He fastens a wakeboard rope to the bucket. The goal, spin friends around for that perfect wide-angle GoPro clip. Call it redneck parasailing. First up is Corinna Kopf. David starts slow, but momentum plus uneven water jerks the rope. Corinna screams to stop. David, laughing, accelerates once more before cutting throttle. She stumbles away, furious. "You always take it too far," she hisses. The footage will never make a vlog. Next volunteer, Jeff Wittek, New York barber. Ex-felon turned stunt junkie. Jeff spent years building an image of fearlessness. Refusing now feels off-brand. He mounts the wakeboard handle. David cranks speed to 60 miles per hour. Excavator engine wailing. Physics. Jeff swings outward, centrifugal force tugging him horizontally. Then David decelerates abruptly, maybe to keep Jeff from smashing shoreline, maybe for dramatic effect. The rope slackens. Jeff catapults inward like a wrecking ball. He slams face first into the metal arm, drops 12 feet, smacks the lake. Silence. Then choking. Friends drag him to shore, blood blooming through lake water. The injuries read like a trauma surgery syllabus. Shattered orbital bones, broken foot, hip dysplasia, torn ligaments, nearly severed optic nerve. He undergoes 9 surgeries, drops 40 pounds, endures crushing migraines and nightmares. For months, he privately assumes it was his fault. He chose to ride. David pays some medical bills, promises to scrap the footage. The squad closes ranks. Fans notice no vlogs but attribute it to COVID. Mid-2021, with public interest already inflamed by SA allegations, Jeff decides silence protects no one. He edits a 5-part YouTube doc, Don't Try This at Home. Episode 3 shows the accident. Viewers watch David's giggle morph to dread as Jeff collides with steel. The internet's reaction is visceral. Many click away nauseated. Headlines call it, the closest a YouTube prank has come to manslaughter. David issues no statement. In his doc's finale, Jeff replays phone audio. David urging crazier stunts to make a comeback vlog legendary. Jeff describes PTSD, recurring dreams of drowning, vision loss in his right eye. Comment sections turn into juries. Why was there no stunt coordinator? Why spin heavy machinery with zero safety gear? Why was Dobrik, the least experienced, driving? April 2022, Jeff files a negligence lawsuit seeking $10 million for medical bills and lost future earnings. Legal docs allege David ignored verbal warnings about speed and exploited Jeff's trust. Dobrik's lawyers respond that Jeff assumed the risk. Trials crawl. Discovery reveals David had asked, "How do we top the helicopter toss?" hours before renting the excavator. Public sympathy, once a firewall, now sides with the maimed barber. Corporate reputations burn slow, but they do burn. Industry guilds whisper that if Dobrik ever wants a Netflix special, he'll need million-dollar liability coverage. Insurance underwriters laugh. Ad agencies flag his name as brand unsafe. The day SeatGeek sponsored Logan Paul's redemption arc, Twitter roasted them. They won't risk repeat headlines. Dobrik's fortune, once diversified, narrows overnight. Yet here's the paradox. The more outrageous the scandal, the more clickable the story. Jeff's doc trends top 5 worldwide. Reaction channels farm his pain for millions of views. The accident's raw footage, pixelated and watermarked, spreads across TikTok as cautionary montage, and, inadvertently, doubles as viral marketing for Dobrik's mythology. Even in disgrace, his name prints traffic. As YouTube historian Danny Gonzalez quips, his brand is like a hydra. Cut a head off, 2 more reaction videos grow. But reaction views don't go to the original creator. Dobrik faces a revenue drought for the first time since high school. Where does an algorithm genius go when the biggest algorithm blacklists him? To a platform with no public dislike button, no monetization quotas, and no comment rants. Snapchat Discover. While lawsuits crawl and memories linger, Dobrik presses upload on vertical stories you'll never see unless you swipe right of your chat feed, and the cash flow returns with frightening speed. If YouTube is a coliseum, commenters hurling tomatoes, sponsors circling like emperors, Snapchat Discover is a gated Vegas lounge. You need a verified star emoji to enter, there's no public comments arena, and the revenue shares are whispered, not posted. For David Dobrik, it's paradise. By late 2022, he's quietly amassed 6 million Snap followers through daily 60-second stories titled $10,000 Hide and Seek, or I Bought a Fire Truck. The format feels like vintage vlogs diced into TikTok pacing. Same LA mansion, same what-if energy, none of the PR baggage. How lucrative is Discover? Influencer agents leak examples. Creators with 2 million followers earning $35,000 a month, top-tier talent topping $1 million a quarter. Snap funnels mid-roll ads invisibly. CPMs dwarf YouTube shorts. Dobrik's retention rates, honed by years of 420 crack edits, outperform norms, making him a golden goose. Insiders whisper he's back to 7-figure annuals. Tax forms proven by a newly opened Dobrik's Pizza on Sunset Boulevard. A neon-soaked slice shop where fans queue 40 deep for pepperoni and a selfie. Offline, his rebrand accelerates. He drops a perfume called David's Perfume No. 2, sells through on launch day. A wellness kick circulates shredded gym selfies. Tabloids credit a Hollywood trainer and clean living. Paparazzi spot him yacht hopping in Sydney with jewelry heiress Emma Pills. Meanwhile, in West Hollywood, former squad members film their own vlogs, notably absent from David's lens. Evidence a social divorce has occurred. Crucially, YouTube re-enabled monetization on David's channels in mid-2024, citing demonstrated adherence to creator responsibility. Fans expected an immediate upload. None came. The silence feels strategic. Money now flows elsewhere, and returning without a bulletproof redemption angle risks reigniting dormant outrage. Instead, he dabbles. Clips from Dobrik's openings, TikTok duets, occasional views podcast shorts. The long-form vlog remains on ice, and yet corporate amnesia is real. In February 2025, rumors swirl that a mid-tier streaming platform courted Dobrik for a docuseries about internet resilience. Twitter disdain trends for 72 minutes, then melts under a new scandal du jour. The culture cycle spins fast. Attention spans fracture. A fresh generation of 13-year-olds discovers David via Snapchat, unaware of excavators or lawsuits. They just see giveaways, puppies, and a guy who looks fun. Jeff Wittek's negligence trial, delayed by motions, is set for late 2025. If a jury rules against Dobrik, damages could wipe out Snap earnings for years. If he settles quietly, NDAs may muzzle narrative. Dom's alleged 2018 victim, Hannah, retains civil counsel. The statute of limitations for SA lawsuits in California extends to 2030. Lawyers circle. The sword of Damocles remains. But so does the question, does accountability expire faster than brand appetite? That leads us to the only part of the story still unwritten, the ending. Because whether Dobrik stays a Snapchat recluse or strides back onto YouTube, the next move belongs to the audience as much as to him. Scan David Dobrik's timeline like a seismograph, and the pattern emerges. Each ascent steeper than the last, each crash louder, the intervals between shorter. A $1,600 gamble became viral fame. Viral fame became Hollywood entree. Hollywood glory morphed into a legal minefield. Legal fallout birthed a lucrative exile. At 30, he sits on a dichotomy, habitually gifting strangers 20 grand stacks on Snapchat, while civil courts quantify how much a friend's broken skull is worth. Supporters argue redemption is a cornerstone of human narrative. They point to Logan Paul, once Suicide Forest guy, now WWE headliner and drink mogul. They cite Robert Downey Jr.'s resurrection from rehab to Iron Man. But both required unambiguous rehabilitation arcs, public contrition, concrete restitution, visible lifestyle change. Dobrik's contrition lives in monetized silence. His restitution is under NDA. On paper, there's no formal closure. Critics counter that centering redemption on the perpetrator erases victims. Hannah's trauma doesn't vanish because ad CPMs climb again. Jeff's blurred depth perception doesn't improve if a judge awards damages. They call the Snap pivot evidence of unrepentant hustle, profit maximization in a comment-free vacuum. Dobrik's defenders shoot back. Should he starve forever? When does a digital sin sentence end? YouTube's demonetization lasted 16 months, longer than most platform punishments. Sponsors acted with wallets, just punishment in a capitalist schema. The legal system is in motion. If courts and corporations both provide pathways to reinstatement, who are we, the viewers, to impose a lifelong ban? Yet every time Dobrik edges toward a mainstream reboot, internet memory reactivates. Nike reportedly passed on a merch collab after junior staff cited the excavator clip in a vetting doc. A network comedy pilot rumor fizzled when female writers circulated Insider's SA article. Brand safety departments hire 20-somethings whose algorithm awareness surpasses C-suite nostalgia. A file labeled Dobrik Risk lives on their servers forever. Ultimately, the fate of YouTube's former kingpin may rest on a platform feature he once manipulated expertly: watch time. Algorithms don't grasp morality, but they understand retention. If millions choose to binge a comeback vlog, advertisers will follow. If millions scroll past, the Snapchat lounge becomes a gilded cage. Profitable yet peripheral. A never-ending side quest where the main storyline has ended.